Horror films are all about tension and release, of getting the audience in a flap and then finally revealing all. More often than most other genres, horror tends to be built around the climactic reveal, where the audience's understanding of the situation is changed by one sliver of information. It can be a plot twist, a special effects showcase, a jump scare, or even a sneaky sequel tease, but whatever their nature, the following horror movie reveals all left viewers beaming with sick glee from ear to ear. Perhaps the audience was expecting pure cliches, but were instead faced with something more interesting, or the filmmaker simply knew precisely how to send everyone home on a fist-pumping high. As enthusiastic as horror fans are, it can be tough to make them truly feel something these days. So, when a movie has the audience eating out of the palm of their hand, like these ones did, you know they've done a hell of a lot right. So as a sequel to our previous video on this very subject, I'm Sean Ferrick for What Culture Horror. Here are 10 more of the most satisfying, delicious, and downright awesome horror movie reveals. Number 10. It's a secret prequel, Final Destination 5. Expectations weren't exactly high for the 5th Final Destination movie, especially after 4th film The Final Destination, which categorically wasn't the final one, suggested the filmmakers had basically run dry on compelling ideas. But Final Destination 5 had one hell of an ace up its sleeve by revealing in its final scene that it's actually a secret prequel to the original Final Destination. After protagonists Sam and Molly board a plane to Paris, we realise they're on the very same plane as Alex, the protagonist of the first movie, who famously cheated death by being ejected from the flight at the last minute. And so the pair are helpless to do anything but perish in the ensuing mid-air plane explosion the audience knows is coming, effectively closing the loop and allowing death to once again prevail. For a sequel that invited through-the-floor expectations, what a brilliant subversion of expectations this was, circling back to the original film in a clever and creative way. Number 9. The Invisible Woman kills Adrian, the Invisible Man. After spending the better part of 2 hours watching Cecilia Cass be terrorized by her former abusive partner Adrian Griffin using an invisible suit he designed, it was oh so satisfying to see her turn the tables on him during the Invisible Man's tense final confrontation. In order to get Adrian's confession, Cecilia agrees to meet with him one last time at his lush home while wearing a wire. Though she doesn't get a formal confession, Adrian makes a clear verbal insinuation that he was indeed behind all the killings throughout the film, at which point Cecilia goes to the bathroom. Moments later, Adrian appears to slit his own throat before Cecilia returns and calls 911 in a panic. After the call, and out of view of the house's security cameras however, she taunts a dying Adrian, revealing that she used the spare invisible bodysuit to kill him, making it look like a suicide. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, frankly. After torturing and gaslighting Cecilia for so long, it was extremely gratifying to see her use Adrian's own tech against him and finally break free of all that trauma. Number 8. Chucky comes to life, Child's Play. Even though Child's Play is incredibly upfront about the fact that it revolves around a murderous possessed doll, the first act of the classic slasher flick plays it coy with actually showing Chucky in action. Instead, director Tom Holland, no, not that one, keeps things just ambiguous enough to suggest that Chucky's owner, Andy, could theoretically be behind the slayings himself, but all doubt is swiftly removed in the glorious mid-film scene where Andy's mother, Karen, threatens to throw Chucky in the fire if he doesn't speak to her. At this moment, Chucky becomes a fully animated on-screen version of himself for the first time, screaming obscenities at Karen as he viciously attacks her. All the credit goes to the special effects wizards who brought Chucky to persuasive life with their phenomenal puppetry work, ensuring that this make-or-break moment for the movie went down in history as an all-timer reveal. Number 7. Erin is a survivalist. You're next. The marketing for Adam Wingard's savage horror You're Next quite shrewdly refused to reveal its big conceit, that one of the characters who ends up preyed upon by a fleet of masked home invaders is a lot more prepared than she might seem. One of the focal targets is Erin, who appears to be just another victim until the midway turning point, when she finds herself caught in an unescapable fight with one of the killers, Tiger Mask. Erin quickly manages to outmaneuver him and bludgeon him to death with a meat tenderizer, immediately making it clear that she has some serious self-preservation skills. But the real kicker comes a few scenes later, when, after fending off another attacker by stabbing him with a screwdriver, Erin reveals precisely what's up with her. As it turns out, Erin grew up on a survivalist compound in Australia, where her father taught her extensive combat and survival tactics. With that in mind, the hunted categorically becomes the hunter, with Erin spending the rest of the movie satisfyingly putting her special set of skills to good use. Number 6. It's a secret vampire movie from dusk till dawn. Though the trailers for From Dusk Till Dawn freely spoiled its big genre-bending twist, for the many millions who first caught it blissfully unaware on TV in the late 90s and early aughts, it came as a jaw-dropping shock. The first half of Robert Rodriguez's film unfolds as a fairly conventional but certainly entertaining thriller in which a pair of outlaws attempt to cross the border into Mexico. But once they reach their rendezvous point, a strip club called the Titty Twister, they and their hostages swiftly discover what fresh hell they've walked into. Tensions boil over and a shootout ensues, at which point one of the club's dancers, Santanico Pandemonium, turns into a vampire, followed by most of the club's other dancers and staff members. Truly, for anyone who went into Rodriguez's film expecting a fairly grounded piece of pulpy neo-noir, this mid-film shift was totally insane in the best way possible, and better yet, the rest of the movie actually lives up to it. Number 5. David becomes a werewolf, an American werewolf in London. Though it's in no way surprising that protagonist David Kessler turns into a werewolf in An American Werewolf in London, how the movie goes about showing his transformation for the first time sure is. Beyond the film's title, it's made abundantly clear early on that David is going to turn into a werewolf after being bitten by one, but nobody is prepared to see it happen firsthand. When the full moon rises, David falls to the floor in agony and removes his clothes as he experiences intense fever. His limbs then start to grotesquely elongate as his body sprouts more hair, his torso takes on a more bestial form, fangs grow from his mouth, and finally, his face stretches and contorts into a wolf-like bone structure. It's a testament to both David Naughton's superb physical performance in the scene, making us feel every sliver of anguish, and Rick Baker's Oscar-winning makeup effects that the scene continues to stun audiences over 40 years later. Number 4. The Curse is Real, Ready or Not. Ready or Not's explosively grisly finale delivered above and beyond expectations, that's for sure. The film follows a new bride, Grace Ledoux, who ends up on the run from her hubby's murderous extended family as part of a historic ritual that has ensured the family's wealth for decades. The family has until dawn to kill Grace, but if she can outlast them until then, the ritual will apparently come for them all instead. So when Grace indeed makes it to sunup, the family braces for the worst, only for nothing to seemingly happen. No, they don't all suddenly drop dead, but after a lengthy beat, they do start exploding from the inside out into bloody meaty mists. Grace looks on in amusement as the members of the family perish one by one, each knowing the fate that's awaiting them and absolutely powerless to stop it. Nothing if not a well-earned outcome for them, and boy, it's a blast to watch unfold. Number 3. Moder, The Ritual. Monster reveals are make or break for just about any horror movie, and few in recent times have gotten it quite so unnervingly right as 2017's underappreciated The Ritual. The film follows 4 friends whose hiking trip across Sweden goes horribly wrong when they take a shortcut through a forest. It's soon made clear that the group is being pursued by a creature of some sort, and a generic horror movie beastie this ain't. The monster is eventually revealed to be the Jotun Moder, the godlike spawn of Loki, which looks quite unlike anything horror fans have likely ever seen before. A decapitated human torso fused with the antlers of an elk and human arms for good measure, it's a truly inexplicable creature to behold, and one that does the rarest of things in horror, pays off all that build-up with a truly uniquely terrifying monster reveal. Number 2. The Lipstick Face Demon, Insidious. Love it or hate it, James Wan's Insidious immortalized itself in horror history for the heart-stopping sequence where audiences are first introduced to its overarching antagonist, the Lipstick Face Demon. When protagonist Josh Lambert is visited by his mother Lorraine, she tells Josh of a nightmare she had of a demonic entity with a red face which wants Josh's son Dalton. After Lorraine finishes recounting her story, we cut back to Josh, where the Lipstick Face Demon can be seen stood directly behind him, leaving Lorraine petrified. Jump scares can be cheap in the wrong hands, but when they're sufficiently creative and creepy, they can leave audiences with a core horror memory, as Insidious certainly did. Though the demon can become decidedly less scary the more we saw of him later on, a classic horror movie pitfall if ever there was one, this glimpse was pure perfection. Number 1. The Truth About Trevor, Hellraiser, Hellseeker. The sixth Hellraiser certainly isn't a great or even particularly good movie, but damn if it doesn't offer up some fitting comeuppance for its utter sleazebag of a protagonist. Hellseeker follows Trevor Gooden, a man who survives a car accident at the very start of the story and awakens in hospital a month later. The head injury leaves Trevor struggling to distinguish reality from fantasy, but later on, Pinhead reveals that Trevor has been cheating on his wife, franchise heroine Kirsty Cotton, with numerous other women, and even tried to get Kirsty killed. Kirsty, who was believed to have perished perished in the car accident, actually cut a deal with Pinhead, offering him 5 souls in exchange for her own, prompting her to murder 3 of Trevor's mistresses and one of his friends. As for the 5th soul, that's Trevor himself, who actually died during the opening car accident, which wasn't an accident at all. Kirsty caused it by shooting him while he was driving. The whole movie has consisted of Trevor in hell trying to make sense of what has happened to him before Pinhead claims his soul and Kirsty gets away scot-free. A fitting outcome for all involved then.